my engagement banquet, and my fiancé is absent. He's busy coaxing his new lover. All the guests are watching me make a fool of myself, and the compliments are like knives, stabbing into the air, but I don't feel any pain, because I know that this marriage was never my bargaining chip, and their fate is the toy in my palm. My engagement banquet is held in the most luxurious hotel in the city. Crystal chandeliers are dazzling, champagne towers are towering, and the guests are dressed in elegant attire. They hold wine glasses, with stylized smiles on their faces, saying "Congratulations, Miss Evelyn. Congratulations on the marriage between Stone Holdings and Carter Corp." I stood there, in a white dress, receiving these false blessings. "Evelyn, you are so beautiful." A bald man leaned over. He is an old subordinate of my father and also a shareholder of Carter Corp. He smiled meaningfully. "Brandon is so lucky to marry you." Lucky? I almost laughed out loud. Everyone knows that Brandon Carter doesn't have me in his heart. He has a true love in his heart, a Liam Miller, said to be his white moonlight from college. He never shies away from their relationship, even in front of me. This marriage is just a product of the exchange of interests between two major families, and I am the sacrifice being pushed out. "President, I said, my voice calm. "You jest. Stone Holdings' recent market capitalization has seen impressive growth. I believe Carter Corp can also take this opportunity to reach new heights." The smile on his face froze as soon as I finished speaking. The rise in Stone Holdings' market capitalization is the hottest topic in the business world recently, and this is the result of a series of iron-fisted measures I took after taking over the company. I didn't mention the marriage, only the market value. I was telling him that I, Shen Lingyue, no, Evelyn Stone, am not the incompetent eldest daughter who relies on family marriage to get to the top and is ridiculed by others. I am the actual controller of Stone Holdings. The bald man chuckled twice and scurried away. I withdrew my gaze and scanned the room. They thought I was Brandon Carter's unloved fiancé, the most pathetic character in this wealthy marriage. They only saw my superficial embarrassment, but they didn't see that I was the dictator who held their lifeblood. The rise of Stone Holdings means that the power in my hands is growing, and Carter Corp is counting on me, this big tree, to survive. Just then, there was a commotion at the entrance of the banquet hall. Everyone's eyes turned to it. "Brandon Carter is here." He was wearing an expensive custom-made suit. His hair was meticulous, and he had a hint of apology on his face, but he couldn't hide the pride in his eyes. The one he was holding on to was Liam Miller. Liam was wearing a dress that was clearly not his size, and his face was flushed with awkwardness. He followed Brandon carefully, occasionally glancing at me with a hint of timidity and a hint of provocation. It was a classic damsel in distress meets domineering CEO drama. It made my stomach churn. Late, and bringing his lover to his own engagement party. "Brandon Carter, you're really something." The guests' whispers surged like a tide. "Oh my God, he actually brought him? This mission is too pitiful, isn't she? Young Master Carter is truly lawless." I stood there, without moving or showing any emotion. My secretary Jessica handed me a glass of wine, which I took and sipped lightly. Brandon approached with Liam, a forced smile on his face. "Evelyn, sorry, the traffic was a bit heavy." "Stuck in traffic?" I looked at him, then at Liam next to him, with that timid look. He didn't seem like he had been stuck on the road for a long time. It was more like he was forcibly brought here and hadn't adapted to this kind of occasion yet. "It's okay," I said calmly. "A guest is a guest." I raised my glass and said to Liam beside Brandon, "And this is?" Liam became even more nervous, subconsciously grabbing Brandon's arm. Brandon cleared his throat. "This is Liam Miller, my friend." Friend? The way he says that word is truly ironic. The whole city knows that this friend of his sleeps in his house, spends his money, and stole his fiancée. "Friend?" I repeated, my voice rising slightly at the end. I looked at Liam, my gaze lingering on him like a scanner for a few seconds. Liam Miller. I pretended to struggle to remember, then suddenly realized, oh, Brandon's, that friend. I paused deliberately, then used that friend to refer to him, the meaning self-evident. Liam's face flushed red instantly, like a ripe tomato. He wanted to say something, but he didn't dare. Brandon's face darkened. "Evelyn, it's the engagement banquet today. Don't make trouble." "Making a scene?" I just asked him who he brought with him. "Is that making a scene?" I laughed. "What am I making a scene about? I just wanted to meet the friend that Brandon couldn't bear to leave behind even at his engagement banquet, and even had to bring to the venue." I emphasized the word friend. Liam finally couldn't hold back. He whispered, "Miss Evelyn, Brandon and I are truly in love. Please grant us our wish." Truly in love? Grant your wish? I felt like I had heard the biggest joke in the world. Truly in love? I looked at him, my eyes devoid of any warmth. Oh, so that's how it is. I turned to Brandon. Since Liam has said so. Brandon, what do you mean to say? Brandon frowned, clearly not expecting Liam to say that. He looked at me, then at Liam, and ultimately chose to stand by him. Evelyn, let's talk about this in private, Brandon said. In private? I sneered. You brought your true love to my engagement party, and now you want to talk to me in private? Brandon Carter, where are you putting my Shinling Yua's face, and the face of Stone Holdings? The atmosphere froze instantly. Everyone held their breath. Brandon's face completely darkened. He pulled Liam and said to me in a low voice, Evelyn, don't force me. Force you? I took a step forward, looked directly into his eyes, and said in a very low voice, only the three of us could hear, Brandon, you are forcing me. He hurriedly left the banquet hall with Liam, leaving behind a room full of astonished guests and me. I picked up my glass again and said to everyone, sorry, there was a little episode. Let's continue. A little episode? This is not a little episode at all. This is blatant humiliation. But it's okay. Brandon Carter, you think you can embarrass me like this? You think I have no other way but to cry? You are wrong. The next morning, I sat in the Stone Holdings office, and the first thing I did was call the CFO, notify Carter Corp that their $500 million loan owed to Stone Holdings is due immediately, and demand full repayment within 3 days. The CFO was taken aback for a moment. Evelyn, but the contract for that loan expires in 3 years. When I say immediately, I mean immediately. My voice left no room for doubt. Just say that Stone Holdings needs working capital now and demands early repayment. But this will cause a shock in the business world. I want to cause a shock. I said, go do it. The phone hung up, and I leaned back in my chair, looking out the window. $500 million is not a small amount for Carter Corp. They've had problems with their recent projects, and their capital chain was already strained. This sum of money is enough to hurt them badly. This is the price Brandon Carter pays for not giving me face at my engagement banquet. This is just the beginning. News spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves through the entire business world. Stone Holdings' sudden demand for Carter Corp to repay $500 million ahead of schedule was like a bolt from the blue. Everyone knew that this was Evelyn Stone's retaliation against Brandon Carter for publicly bringing his mistress to their engagement banquet. Stone Holdings was also in an uproar internally. Several old directors stormed into my office, yelling at me, Evelyn, have you gone mad? Recalling the money now will cause huge problems for Carter Corp. This will affect the marriage between the two families. Marriage? You're still thinking about marriage? I looked at them, my tone calm, but my eyes like ice knives. I have already cancelled my engagement with Brandon Carter. Cancel? How could you make a decision on your own? I am the president of Stone Holdings. Why can't I make a decision? I stood up and walked in front of them. Did you think I was as weak as my father, letting the Carter family bully us? They rubbed my face on the ground. And you want me to lick the soles of their shoes? But, Evelyn, the interests of the family. The interests of the family are the interests of Stone Holdings. I interrupted them. I'm telling you, Stone Holdings is under my control now. Whoever dares to oppose my decision, get out of Stone Holdings. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried an unquestionable authority. The few old directors were stunned by my aura. They looked at each other and ultimately said nothing before leaving my office. Iron-fisted methods. That's how they described me in private. I don't care. I want them to know that I'm not someone to be trifled with. The 3-day deadline arrived, and Carter Corp. had not repaid the $500 million. They sent people to plead for mercy, but I refused to see them. Brandon Carter finally couldn't sit still. He drove a flashy red sports car and parked it directly in front of the Stone Holdings building. He got out of the car, dressed in a suit and tie, with a hint of anxiety on his face. I watched him through the window. Little did he know, I had already had people investigate. Liam Miller often rides in that sports car. I sent the secretary downstairs to tell Brandon Carter that I was waiting for him on the top floor. When he came up, there was a hint of anger on his face. Evelyn, what exactly do you want? $500 million. You know Carter Corp can't come up with that right now. If you can't come up with it, that's your problem. I sat behind my desk, looking at him. The contract is very clear. Stone Holdings has the right to recall the loan early if funds are needed. Now, I need the funds. You don't need it at all, he roared. You're just deliberately retaliating against me. Retaliation? I laughed. Brandon, you were the one who was unkind first. I pointed to the red sports car downstairs. Your car is parked at the door. Very conspicuous. His face changed. You know what? I continued. I had someone check. And Liam Miller has been frequently riding in your car recently. So, don't you think this car is a little dirty to me now? Brandon's face instantly turned liver-colored. He knew what I was talking about. I not only humiliated him, but also Liam Miller, who was hiding in his car, in front of everyone. Evelyn, he gritted his teeth. So, please drive your dirty car and take your dirty friend away from my company. I stood up, walked to the window, and looked down at the sports car below. As for cooperation, Brandon, I have no interest in cooperating with Carter Corp right now, unless, I turned around, looked at him, and said, unless you clean up Carter Corp, don't come to me. You. Brandon trembled with anger. He knew what I was referring to. Cleaning up meant completely severing ties with Liam Miller. In the end, he said nothing and turned to leave my office. I watched his back with cold eyes. I had people continue investigating Liam Miller. His background was simple, a child from an ordinary family, with delicate features, who met Brandon Carter in college and then got on this boat. A typical White Lotus meets domineering CEO drama. My assistant asked me if I wanted to just do it and make Liam Miller disappear from Brandon Carter's side. No. I rejected my assistant's suggestion. Direct elimination is too boring. I looked at Liam Miller's photo, a cold smile creeping onto my lips. I want to add some spice to their love. A few days later, a beautifully gold-stamped invitation was delivered to Liam Miller. The invitation read, awaiting Mr. Liam Miller's presence to attend the wedding of Mr. Brandon Carter and Miss Evelyn Stone. I had someone send the invitation to Liam Miller's rented apartment and made sure he received it. The effect was immediate. According to my people, Liam Miller packed his things and ran away from home immediately after receiving the invitation. Brandon Carter is looking for him everywhere like crazy. This kind of melodramatic plot is always so effective. Brandon Carter, don't you love him? Didn't you say you would give up everything for him? Now, I'm sending you a surprise to see how strong your love really is. Liam Miller hid for a few days, but finally showed up. He didn't go to Brandon Carter, but went straight into Stone Holdings. He yelled in the hall like a shrew who had suffered a great injustice. Shen Lingyue, you vicious woman, why would you do such a thing? You know very well that Brandon and I are truly in love. The security guards couldn't stop him, and the receptionist was terrified. My secretary, Jessica, went downstairs to handle it. Jessica, in her professional suit, had a cold and alluring temperament, which contrasted sharply with Liam Miller's disheveled appearance. Sir, this is Stone Holdings. Please be quiet, Jessica said politely. Quiet? How can I be quiet? She stole Brandon, and now she's forcing him to marry her. She's a devil. Liam Miller pointed upstairs, shouting hoarsely. Jessica glanced at him, a hint of disdain in her eyes. Stole? Do you have any proof that Mr. Brandon Carter belongs to you? Jessica's voice was devoid of emotion. As for forcing marriage, Evelyn and Mr. Brandon Carter's engagement was arranged by their elders, and it's legal and compliant. But Brandon doesn't love her. He loves me, Liam Miller shouted. Love? Jessica laughed. May I ask, what is the value of the /love/ you speak of? The house you live in, the car you drive, the clothes you wear, which one is not provided by Mr. Brandon Carter? Oh right. How much was the fare for you to come to Stone Holdings? You came by taxi, right? About 1,500 yuan? Liam Miller was stunned. Jessica/S voice became colder. And Evelyn, who you say doesn't /love/ Mr. Brandon Carter, controls Stone Holdings with a market value of 150 billion. Do you think your 1,500 yuan worth of /love/ has value? Or does Evelyn/S 150 billion position have value? Liam Miller's face turned red and white, and he couldn't say a word. Besides, Jessica continued, Carter Corp is currently facing a serious financial crisis, with $500 million in debt coming due. Do you think Mr. Brandon Carter is in the mood for romance right now? What he needs is someone who can save his family, a wife who can bring him real money, not a true love who only knows how to cry. Every word Jessica said was like a knife, stabbing deeply into Liam Miller's heart. He completely broke down. collapsed to the ground, and wailed. The news quickly reached Brandon Carter's ears. He didn't have time to settle accounts with me because a bigger problem was coming. I had someone anonymously send the surveillance video of Brandon Carter stopping a bus at the airport to chase Liam Miller, causing a traffic paralysis, to several influential local media outlets and social platforms. The video went viral instantly. Rich second generation forces a bus to stop for love. Disregarding public safety. The arrogant behavior of the young master of Carter Corp. Can you do whatever you want just because you have money? The public opinion rushed towards Brandon Carter like a tsunami. He was scolded by netizens and became a trending topic, was criticized by the authorities, and was even detained by the police for disturbing public order. Carter Corp's stock price plummeted in response, and its reputation plummeted. The news of Brandon Carter's detention completely panicked Mrs. Carter. She knew that only I could save her son and save Carter Corp. She personally came to Stone Holdings to find me. Mrs. Carter was well maintained, but her face was filled with anxiety and fatigue at the moment. She sat in my office, adopting a very humble posture. "Evelyn, please, save Brandon, save Carter Corp." she pleaded. I looked at her, my heart unmoved. I hadn't forgotten how she disdained me back then and how she kicked my father when he was down. "Mrs. Carter, you're exaggerating," I said calmly. "Brandon's actions have violated the law. As an outsider, how can I intervene?" "You're not an outsider, you're his fiancé." "Fiancé?" I laughed. "Have you forgotten? I've already called off my engagement with Brandon." Mrs. Carter's face stiffened. However, I changed my tone. "Considering you came all the way here, I can consider helping." "Really?" Mrs. Carter's eyes lit up. "Of course," I said. "However, I have a condition." "What condition?" "Tell me. As long as I can do it, I will definitely agree." "It's very simple," I said. "First, you must handle Liam Miller's matter properly. I don't want to see him appear around Brandon again, or anywhere that could affect Brandon." Mrs. Carter gritted her teeth and nodded. "Okay, I promise you, I will make him disappear forever." "Second," I continued, "Carter Corp is in a very bad situation right now and needs a strong leader to rectify it. If you agree, I am willing to temporarily take over the internal management of Carter Corp until the company returns to normal." Mrs. Carter hesitated. Handing over the management of Carter Corp was almost like giving the company away. "Evelyn, this..." "Mrs. Carter," I interrupted her, "think about it. Who else besides me can come up with the funds and have the ability to save Carter Corp now? If you don't trust me, then you can only watch Carter Corp go bankrupt, and Brandon will carry the stain for the rest of his life." I put pressure on her. I knew she was eager to save her son and protect the family business. In the end, she compromised. "Okay, I promise you, I will hand over the internal management control of Carter Corp to you." "Okay." I took out the contract I had prepared long ago. "Sign this agreement, and I will immediately start dealing with Brandon's matter." Mrs. Carter barely looked at the contract and quickly signed it. She was so eager for success that she didn't realize that what she signed was not just a management agreement, but also a contract of indenture. I got the agreement and immediately used my connections to get Brandon Carter out of the detention center. After Brandon came out, the first thing he did was not to thank me, but to go find Liam Miller. After learning that Liam Miller had been sent away by his mother, he flew into a rage at me. "Evelyn, what have you done? How dare you send Liam away?" I looked at him as if I were looking at a stranger. "How dare I?" I sneered. "Because I am the president of Stone Holdings, because I am now the actual controller of Carter Corp, and because I just got you out of jail." He was stunned. He didn't expect me to take control of Carter Corp so quickly. Mrs. Carter pulled him aside. "Brandon, stop it. Evelyn is the only one who can help us now. You have to marry her." Brandon looked at me with a complex expression. There was anger, resentment, and a hint of regret that even he didn't notice. "Evelyn, let's get married." Under the pressure from Mother Gao, he finally spoke. "Marry him?" I looked at him like a worn-out piece of trash. "Marriage?" I repeated, then laughed. "Brandon Carter, do you think you are still qualified to talk to me about marriage now?" His face changed again. "You brought your lover to my engagement banquet. You forced the bus to stop for another man and went to the police station. You made Carter Corp infamous." I walked closer to him step by step, my voice contemptuous. "Now, in my eyes, you are just a worn-out, worthless piece of second-hand trash." My words were like the sharpest knife, piercing into his heart. You, what did you say? He looked at me in disbelief. I said, you are a piece of second-hand trash. I repeated, I, Evelyn Stone, don't need a piece of second-hand trash to be my husband. Did you think I saved you to marry you? You think too highly of yourself. His eyes went from shock to anger, then to a hint of despair. Evelyn, you can't do this to me, he roared. Why can't I? I retorted. What have you done to me? Have you forgotten? Without giving him time to react, I anonymously sent Liam Miller the recording I had secretly made before, in which Brandon promised Mrs. Carter that he would marry me, but his words were full of reluctance and longing for Liam Miller. As expected, Liam Miller went completely crazy after receiving the recording. He broke into the Carter house and made a scene, fighting with Mrs. Carter, and his emotional agitation led to a miscarriage. Mrs. Carter was so angry that she fainted on the spot and was hospitalized with a sudden illness. I brought flowers and fruit and went to the hospital to visit. I stood at the door of the ward, looking at Liam Miller and Mother Gal lying inside. Brandon Carter stood guard by the bed, looking and haggard. Evelyn Stone. Brandon saw me and pounced like he was looking at an enemy. I took a step back, avoiding him. Brandon, watch your image. I looked at him with cold eyes. This is a hospital. What are you doing here? You poisonous woman, he growled. I'm here to visit Mrs. Carter and Mr. Liam Miller. My tone was innocent. After all, such a big thing happened, and as a former, oh no, someone who used to be engaged to the Carter family, I should come and see. I deliberately mentioned the engagement to provoke them. Liam Miller lay in the hospital bed, his face pale, staring at me with resentment in his eyes. It's all your fault. You ruined me. You ruined my child, he screamed. Oh, is that so? I walked to the bedside and looked at him. You made a scene at the Carter/S house and fought with Mrs. Carter. Didn't you do that yourself? The miscarriage was caused by your emotional excitement, right? What? Now that something has happened, you blame it on me? I leaned down and whispered in his ear. Liam Miller, who do you think you are? You are just a fool who dreams of becoming a phoenix by climbing up a high branch. Do you think Brandon Carter really loves you? He only loves the excitement and freshness you bring. Now that you can't bring him any value and only bring him trouble, do you think he will treat you the same as before? Liam Miller's body began to tremble. I straightened up and said to Brandon Carter, Brandon, take good care of your true love. However, Carter Corp is in a mess right now. Do you still have the mind to stay here? After I left the hospital, I immediately had people leak information about Liam Miller becoming a mistress, having a miscarriage, and causing trouble at the Gao family's house, to the media through various channels. Of course, all the information pointed to Liam Miller as a third party who destroyed other people's families, and his miscarriage was his own fault. The public opinion exploded again, this time targeting Liam Miller, the doomsday of the mistress who had a miscarriage, the tragic end of a kept mistress of a wealthy family, serves her right for being an interloper and getting beaten. Liam Miller's reputation is completely ruined. Unwilling to accept it, he even started a live broadcast, crying and selling sympathy, slandering me for breaking him and Brandon up and causing him to have a miscarriage. I sneered. A desperate struggle. I released the evidence I had prepared long ago, records of Liam Miller's extravagant spending of Brandon Carter's money during his college years, chat records of him asking Brandon Carter for expensive gifts, evidence of him using Brandon Carter's name to swindle people without his knowledge, surveillance videos of him and Brandon Carter in a hotel room, and surveillance videos of him causing trouble at Carter's house. This chain of evidence is complete and rock solid. It instantly shattered all of Liam Miller's lies. He not only failed to gain sympathy, but also aroused greater disgust. He was not only a homewrecker, but also a liar. In the end, Liam Miller was sentenced to prison for fraud and defamation. After Liam Miller went to jail, Brandon Carter completely broke down. He lost his true love, and his family business was gradually eaten away by me. I took control of the Carter Corp board of directors and kicked him out. The last time I saw Brandon Carter was at the entrance of the Carter Corp building. He wanted to go in, but the security guard stopped him. He was wearing a suit that was no longer expensive. His hair was messy, and his eyes were empty. He saw me get out of a black car and walk towards the building. Evelyn. He murmured my name. I stopped and looked at him. Behind me was the Carter Corp building that would soon be mine, and in front of me was him, a man who used to be high above but now had nothing. Brandon Carter. I called out his full name. my voice as cold as ice. Why are you still standing here? He looked at me, his eyes filled with regret, pain, confusion, and even a hint of pleading. Evelyn, why are you doing this to me? His voice was hoarse. Why? I laughed, but there was no warmth in my laughter. Brandon, have you forgotten how your father joined forces with outsiders to swallow my father's company back then? Have you forgotten how my father was forced to be penniless? Have you forgotten how my Shin family/Stone Holdings eked out a living in the shadow of your Gao family/Carter Corp? I looked at him and said, word by word, this is not a why, this is cause and effect. The Gao family owes the Shin family/Stone Holdings, and I want you to repay it with the entire Carter Corp. He collapsed to the ground, his eyes completely losing their luster. He finally understood that I was not retaliating against his lack of love, nor was I fighting for a man, but completing a long-planned revenge. I didn't look at him again and walked straight into the Carter Corp building. From now on, this place is mine too.